This is How to Terrorize YouTube, Give Teachers Midlife Crises, and Get Adopted. A video essay by Midoriya Izuku. Written by Moth. Read by Satori Reads. Summary. Midoriya blinked widely at the camera, stepping back closer to the whiteboard positioned behind him. A crudely drawn bird was quite pathetically sketched in the corner, sadly staring into the lens. Bird watching. Midoriya began, fishing out an erasable pen from his pocket. A fun, exciting, and healthy hobby. He indicated towards his bird drawing. The Yakuza. Bad. He held out a thumbs down. In this video, I'll be explaining how it would hypothetically be financially beneficial for the Shie Hassaikai to quit crime and turn to professional birdwatching. Midoriya continues his caffeine-fueled conspiracy YouTube account. Midoriya blinked widely at the camera, stepping back closer to the whiteboard positioned behind him. A crudely drawn bird was quite pathetically sketched in the corner, sadly staring into the lens. Bird watching. Midoriya began, fishing out an erasable pen from his pocket. A fun, exciting, and healthy hobby. He indicated towards his bird drawing. The Yakuza. Bad. He held out a thumbs down. In this video, I'll be explaining how it would hypothetically be financially beneficial for the Shie Hassaikai to quit crime and turn to professional birdwatching. In the grand scheme of things, the Yakuza has undeniably lost a lot of influence and money, meaning that the types of crimes they used to commit are not unsustainable and a simple loss of money. We can see the impact of this when we compare what we can infer of their spending habits to the calculated income. Midoriya took a deep breath, pulling out a printed stacked bar graph from behind his back and sticking it to the whiteboard, circling it twice. Any and all profits have plummeted downhill after this certain point. He indicated towards the turning point, where the loss bars took up more vertical space than the income bars, where I'm assuming the previous leader of this particular branch was replaced, resulting in an even greater lessening of income and reputation. The video continued on a similar track, delving into the details of birdwatching and, consequently, the production of stock images relevant to the aforementioned topic and the rewards of such a job. It was evident a large amount of research had gone into the video, despite the mere 6-minute runtime. Blue Tit Biggest Fan 45 commented, "Life-changing video. Thanks for sharing." Blue-billed Curacao Stan 24 commented, "Looks like the Hassaikai won't be the only ones moving to Colombia." Joe Watches Birds 9872 commented, "Mid-video, need Subway Surfer playthrough." Deep underground in a leaky lair, Chisaki Kai pondered, closing the laptop in front of him. After brief consideration, the man promptly abandoned his place of operations with the rest of the Hassaikai, dropping Eri off at a police station on their way to the airport with the plan of moving to Colombia to start their bird-based stock image empire. Eri was, with little to no hesitation, taken in by Nezu. Midoriya opened his dorm room door, taking a small step back in surprise at the large flask of coffee, innocently staring up at him, practically begging to be taken in. The student shrugged, reaching down, picking it up, and taking it into his room without a second thought. Midoriya dropped into frame, a somber look on his face. The impact of the hero killer, Stain, is still affecting us as a society more than we realize. He began, taking a long sip from a large flask of coffee. Although he unofficially retired over 5 months ago, the damage still resides. During his active period, Stain murdered 8 heroes, injuring 13 more over the course of 7 months. I was actually spurred to make this video because a concerned viewer reached out to me with the possibility of copycats emerging now it's certain he's gone. Midoriya failed to mention that the concerned viewer was almost certainly Stain himself. He also failed to mention that he was the responsible party for the retirement of the hero killer, having pseudo-bullied the man online for his flawed mindset. Not only was Stain's approach ineffective, it was borderline promoting corruption in the heroic industry, resulting in an overall increase of the very same behavior he sought to abolish. Post-editing Midoriya, the first sighting of such a being, edited 2 comparative charts onto the screen. This first chart shows the public satisfaction feedback in regards to heroes from civilians before Stain became active, while the second shows after. He paused for dramatic effect. As you can see, the second graph is much more negative, with more violence than necessary, drawing out fights, increases in property damage, and lessening levels of volunteering. Even now, after he's retired, the statistics are still in the process of fixing themselves. The issue lies partially in the question, what is a true hero? He took a large swig from his flask. During his appearance online, Stain defined a true hero as a career hero who selflessly helps others without compensation, claiming that All Might alone was worthy of the title. Midoriya's gaze hardened. As All Might's biggest fan, the words "suck it, Stain" flashed on the screen. That's bullshit. Heroics is a job. There's no other way to view it now. It's a career and it's fucking stupid to treat it as otherwise. He threw his hands up in frustration. You wouldn't expect a tailor to make you outfits routinely for free without being able to sustain themselves. You wouldn't expect a baker to gift you a dessert after dessert whilst being unable to feed themselves. Heroics as a career is inconceivably different to simply being heroic. You can stop someone walking into traffic. You can give a stranger encouraging words. You can point out dangers. You could even save a life. And in Stain's words, you wouldn't be a true hero because it's not your job. Midoriya rolled his eyes. People have all sorts of reasons to become heroes. And as long as they're not bad people, the motives aren't as crucial as they seem. They might just want to help people, prove themselves to others, use their quirk freely. And as long as they're not hurting anyone and keep doing their job, it genuinely doesn't matter. Of course there are bad people in the heroics industry. They're not indiscriminately good. No professional field is. But focus on their actions, not their motivation. Call out dangerous or harmful behavior if you see it, because we can take safe and legal action to improve, and straight up murdering people who you don't deem pure or just enough is stupid and ineffective. He took in a deep breath, exhaling softly. Didn't think I'd have to say this on the internet, but maybe don't kill people? Man by day, whore by night, commented. Love your approach to a more serious topic. Well executed, man. Curium Cruncher commented. This really changed my perspective. I appreciate the reality check. Calgon Chugger commented. Thanks for making this video. This was regrettably needed. Denki nudged Midoriya playfully. Really enjoyed your latest video, dude. Put a lot of things in perspective, you know? Midoriya stared at him, only mild confusion visible on his face. What video? Denki's smile fell slightly. You know, the video on Stain. He clarified, tone slightly urgent. Midoriya placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. I even liked, commented, and subscribed. Denki muttered mournfully, as Midoriya casually walked away. Midoriya stared at the can in front of him, standing innocently in the refrigerated section of the aisle. The cringy motto, and liking graphic design, called out to him, and boy was Midoriya listening. With less thought and more instinct, the teenager reached out, carefully placing the beverage into his basket along with other supplies. After checking out, he turned over the can in his hand, admiring his peach-flavored find. With a wide grin, he dropped it into his bag, beginning his short journey back to the dorms. What he failed to notice, however, was a hooded figure behind him, also heading towards the aforementioned dorms. The camera shook as Midoriya adjusted it. Hair somehow more messy than normal, several dry whiteboard markers discarded across the floor, and the rather disgruntled pro-hero Midnight sat in a small, worn-out, All Might-themed camping chair. In the foreground, several complex pieces of chemistry equipment stood, along with 2 padded vials and 2 syringes. The whiteboard in the back was coated in frantic scribbles of what would be taking place during the video, along with a brief, simplified explanation. Today I'm gonna use gas chromatography to prove that Midnight and the newly debuted villain Mustard both have nearly identical quirks. He grinned, offering the camera a healthy dose of jazz hands. He held up the first vial. Here we have a sample of gas retrieved from one of Mustard's attack sites. Shout out to Musutafu Police Department for allowing me to perform this experiment. A hand reached into the frame, giving a brief thumbs up. Of course, this is being observed in real time by a group of professionals, so if I do fuck up, they have legal grounds to take me to court and, more importantly, verify my claims. Midoriya gestured to the setup in front of him. If we insert part of this gas sample into our capillary column, in about 30 minutes we should get a breakdown, telling us exactly what Mustard's gas is. The camera cut to black, resuming on a grinning Midoriya and an exhausted Midnight. And we can confirm that the first sample is, in fact, sevoflurane. Now, in this vial, he pulled out the second test tube from its padded container. We have a sample from Kayama-sensei. Now, you can see that it's reverted to liquid form since it was taken, which we just need to volatilize before it's carried by an inert gas through our column and passed through the detector. Midoriya frowned. I think. Midoriya held up both the printed off results. Mustard, the chance you're watching this may be small, but who cares? Here we can see that both you and Kayama-sensei have sevoflurane as the main component of your quirk. You, a newbie villain, and Midnight, a well-known hero, share major parts of your identity. Fuck, I wouldn't be surprised if you were the son of a secret sister or something. I don't know your story. I don't know why you turned to crime, but if this proves anything, it's that this isn't the only path. Do you know how expensive sevoflurane is? If you even considered going into the medical industry, you'd do unbelievable amounts of good. Obviously, in the end, it's your quirk. You choose if you want a career that uses it or not. You choose your path in life. But this is simply bringing alternatives to your attention. Don't base your life off of stupid shit you were told as a kid. He sighed. Requirem of the Deported commented. Casually collabing with Midnight, average Tuesday, I guess. Man by day, whore by night, commented. No fucking way it actually worked! Dung Beetle supporter commented. Hey, autism. Found any red dodgeballs recently, perchance? Far off, Isayuyu chugged his mask down an empty alleyway, staring down at the discarded object for a brief moment, before strolling off, head held high. Sometime in the near future, he'd gain minor recognition for his diligent work as an amateur anesthesiologist. Midnight had only agreed to participate in the video in return for the opportunity to ask Midoriya's mother if, perhaps, she'd like to have a night out together. Midoriya wasn't present for the next dorm shopping trip, rather unfortunately. It was this fact that resulted in the teenager unintentionally ingesting caffeine one night, sending the student down a rather deep rabbit hole. The video opened on Midoriya standing in front of a blank whiteboard. Hound Dog, he began, eyes wide, is not a dog. He slapped a photo of the hero onto his whiteboard, shortly followed by photos of a dog, wolf, and a lion. If we observe the traits of a hound dog on a day-to-day basis, he added on in a whisper. Easy to do as a UA student, we can see things that point more to a lion than a dog. But autism, I hear you cry. That's because he's actually part wolf. Midoriya slammed his hands onto the table. Wrong! An erasable marker was pulled out from an indiscernible place, hastily uncapped, and brought up to the whiteboard. Unintentionally, I've noticed some things about Hound Dog. Little mannerisms that didn't sit right with me. let's do a quick comparison of dog/wolf traits and lion traits. Underneath the picture of the wolf, Midoriya proceeded to write several words. Chase, 6 to 10, lead pair, wagging tail, 10,000 acres and run well. Turning to the image of the lion, he repeated a list in a similar style. Ambush, 40, matriarchal, wagging tail, 5,000, shit at running, and bite and scratch. Wolves tend to chase their prey due to their main strength being their speed and numbers, waiting for it to wear out. In Hound Dog's fight, we tend to see more of an ambush technique, much more common in lions. Point 1 to lion theory. He crossed the mentioned words off of their respective lists. Wolf packs typically consist of roughly 8 wolves, but looking at Hound Dog's social circle, we see a much larger number, closer to the lion's pride numbers of 40. A short video passed over the screen of Hound Dog's social media, scrolling through post after post of a wide range of different people. Point 2 to lion theory. Now, wolf packs tend to be run by a lead pair, which, if Hound Dog did relate to it, would be difficult to prove. There was a dramatic pause. Lion prides, on the other hand, tend to be matriarchal in structure, whilst functioning like a family. I can, from personal experience, say confidently that Hound Dog is far, far more likely to listen if the speaker is generally feminine presenting. Now, everyone knows that a wagging tail is a good sign in dogs and a bad sign in cats. And I present you this. Another video was brought up on screen, this time depicting Hound Dog leaping down toward a criminal, tail flickering angrily. That one is a little less concrete though, as one could argue that he is happy to be ambushing a criminal. He admitted, scratching at the back of his head with a minor shame. On to territory. We know. It was at this point that Hound Dog shut his laptop, effectively cutting off the video. Of course, it wasn't as if he hadn't seen it before. This was his 4th watch after all, staring down at the DNA results clutched tightly in his paws, confirming what Midoriya had said. My hero name. He muttered mournfully. My merge. He sniffed slightly. One of my parents cheated. Feeble Sweeple commented, casually tearing apart a family by accident. Autism biggest fan commented, why is one of the link sources just a gif of someone squishing the pad of a lion's paws? Super cool criminal with lots of hair 3 commented, son, please pick up my calls. Hello my faithful following. I believe Snipe is an aimbot that gains sentience and a human form. You will believe this too, soon enough. Snipe has never been seen out of his hero costume to this day, never accepting medical help, and never seen in places with bad internet. Suspicious. 37 years ago, an indie game by the title of Consumption of the Morally Bankrupt Finance Hoarders was released on Smoke, gaining a rather niche following on certain social media sites. It had a rather unique format, in the sense that when one selected the non-pacifist route, an aimbot was automatically added to the experience, meaning no matter where you aimed, your target would always be hit. Sound familiar? He pulled out a photograph of Snipe and tapped it frantically. Now, by comparing the design of the character you play as to Snipe's original hero outfit, we can see numerous similarities. He fished out 2 additional photos from off-screen, taping them to his whiteboard with minor struggle, such as the red cape, covered face, and a cowboy hat. Additionally, the game character was written to be American, while Snipe was... He paused. Born and raised in Japan. He slammed a hand onto the whiteboard. So where does his accent come from? According to his records, he's never even left Japan, nor have his parents. I'm starting to smell cod here, fellow theorists. Snipe glanced down at his hands, shaking slightly for perhaps the first time in his life. He held up his fist to his ear, clenching and unclenching it. The unmistakable sound of a machine whirring only proved the teenager's hypothetical. What? He whispered, horrified. The fuck? The next lesson Snipe taught. He was terrorized by students threateningly holding water bottles, occasionally jerking them towards him, and laughing as he squealed in fright. Snipe was, of course, waterproof, having survived until mid-adulthood without realizing he wasn't human, was participating in normal activities. But that didn't exactly cross his mind, due to the gargantuan identity crisis he was currently battling. That was quite something, Midoriya. Ida spoke, mildly perturbed. What? Midoriya responded, tilting his head to the side. The video? He clarified, raising a concerned eyebrow. I'm sorry, I'm not online much. Should I know what video you're talking about? The student looked down. Are you selling water bottles? Midoriya shrugged. There's been a sudden increase in demand. I might as well profit from it. Well, then. Today, we'll be narrowing down the possible locations to the remaining League of Villains hideout. Of course, this is my first livestream, so... He shrugged. It might be boring? He turned the camera around to reveal his usual whiteboard covered with overlapping photos tied together with a red string. Here's what I have so far. He brushed his hand over his magnum opus. I know it's not much, but... He cut himself off, squinting at the screen. Yeah, I had some canned drink, not sure what it was though. The label was scratched off. He tried to turn his phone back around, but was distracted by a different comment. It's not concerning, it's called quick thinking. As the live stream went on, Midoriya was able to scratch off multiple locations, tearing the photos down one at a time, until only a handful remained. Well, I don't know about you, but I need a snack. He yawned. And you're coming with me. He opened his dorm room door with his foot, strolling towards the kitchen at a leisurely pace. Once Midoriya arrived, he made a beeline for the fridge, opening it to look at whatever treasures it held. His efforts were fruitless, however, as he signed mournfully before shutting the door. Well, my old friend Disappointment returns. He was about to open one of the cupboard doors, but was interrupted by wrestling behind one of the walls. Not again, Mirio! He turned the camera towards the aforementioned wall, as if shielding himself from danger. 'Twas not Mirio, however, and, in a quite pathetic motion, Tomura Shigaraki fell through, having unintentionally disintegrated part of the kitchen wall. He landed like an anesthetized cat, slumped on the floor, not even bothering to get up. The teenager turned the camera to himself. Okay, so I've somewhat managed to narrow down the possible whereabouts? The most notable comment in chat simply read, "No shit, brother." Midoriya started the stream with his camera mere millimeters away from his face, a wide grin spread across his features. What is up, my guys? Guess who's getting legally adopted by All Might? He attempted to whisper, but the excitement in his voice was impossible to ignore. Toshinori looked up, shooting Midoriya a matching smile. Suck on that, old dad! Super cool criminal with lots of hair 4 commented. Fuck you, All Might. Tinya commented. I'm so happy for you. Is this why you were cackling evilly in mass? Why is my name taken in every fucking form? Commented. I'm so glad that you're as happy about this as I am, son. Super cool criminal with lots of hair 4 responded. Die. Orange Slorange commented. Will this affect Moisture Rock opening times? So this was How to Terrorize YouTube, Give Teachers Midlife Crises and Get Adopted, a video essay by Midoriya Izuku. Written by Moth. Read by Satori Reads. Thank you so much for listening, and see you next time. Meaning, no matter where you aimed, your